Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk about my topic for my informative speech. I don't really have any prompts or anything that I can use except my wealth of knowledge on this subject. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to spot a fake ID. If you obtain a bartending position or a bouncing position or any type of position where you need to tell if someone is trying to pass off a fake ID. About 15 years ago, as stated in my previous assignment, I started working for a bartending school out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I started off getting jobs for students that were graduating and taking the bartending course. It was a lot of fun. I got to listen to music every day when I went to work. Part of the requirements when you are learning how to be a bartender is learning to hear someone trying to order a drink over loud music. So it's definitely an acquired education or ability to be able to hear over loud things. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of time. Getting back to the subject of how to spot a fake ID, let me say that nowadays to produce a fake ID is next to impossible. There are holograms, there are invisible holograms that go on each state ID. In Florida, where I lived, they used to have a paper ID that was laminated, so it was very easy to cut open the lamination, remove the ID, scan it into a computer, and then turn around and change the numbers, change the picture, change the date, print it back out, and laminate it again, and people were none the wiser. Nowadays, again, it's almost impossible to do. You just can't do it. Working in a bar, I will tell you that there are several types of IDs that are not accepted. There are military IDs. The new ones that have the little tiny code on it, the little inscription code, the little chip or whatnot, those are acceptable. Dependent cards are not acceptable because they don't make them with that chip. College IDs are absolutely not accepted. And also any type of birth certificate, social security card, or passport is also not accepted because they are too easily duplicated. I've worked in a bar where I had someone come in, just not even someone, just people all the time. They will come in and they'll hand you an ID and it's not their ID. You clearly look at the picture and you look at them and sure enough it's not them and you have to turn them away. So again, it's not hard to spot a fake ID if you know what you're looking for. You definitely want to look for something. If it's like a credit card and it's cracked, that's okay. But if it's peeling on the corners, you definitely don't want to accept it. Anyone who does not produce an ID and looks under the age of 30, you have a right to refuse service to them, whether they want to put up a stink, they want to say, oh, I know the owner. Everybody always knows the owner. And that's something that you just have to get over and say, well, I'm very sorry. As a bartender in the state of Connecticut, you have the right to refuse service to anyone for any reason. Also, I'm pretty sure it's in every state, but even if you're 78 years old, you have to have a valid ID to be inside of a bar. If you don't, the bartender can refuse to serve you. The bar can be fined. In Connecticut, I believe if you are caught selling alcohol to a minor, it is up to, I think, $1,000 fine per instance per minor that's in the bar at the time. So let's say you have 5 people in your bar and they're not old enough to drink, but they've produced an ID. Not only do you get $1,000 fine for that, but you get a $500 fine, and the bartender gets a fine for accepting a fake ID. You have to use common sense. You have to assess the people that are coming into your bar. You have to look at them and you have to say, okay, does this person look old enough to be here? How long did it take them before they produced an ID? If it takes more than a minute for them to produce an ID, 9 times out of 10 they either don't have one or they don't belong in the bar. If someone doesn't have a problem with it, they have a valid ID, and you simply ask them, then they should have no problem saying, yep, here you go, and here's your ID. So it's a very hard business to work in, especially when you have to be the one that has to think straight. You have to be the one that has to determine whether that person should be in your bar or should not be in your bar. So again, a lot of common sense. It's generally something that you can acquire over time, but you won't get the experience in it until you've actually seen a fake ID for yourself. Generally, you are supposed to confiscate the ID and you send it into the state. Most people who create a fake ID, they put their real name on it. They have all of their information. The only thing that's different is the year of their birth. So 9 times out of 10, they will be found. They'll match up the picture in the system, and that person's going to get a fine or a court date. They could even go so far as to get probation. So I've seen a lot of different instances, but again, definitely don't want to take an ID that has frayed sides, anything that looks like it's been laminated. And you also don't want to accept any passports, birth certificates, social security cards, college IDs, or dependent military cards unless it has the encoded chip on it. So I hope I was a little bit informative to everyone, and maybe you can learn something. If you have any questions, please let me know and I'll be happy to answer them. Thanks for listening. Have a great night.